This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Monday night. It's Mondays with the mayor, and we're waiting on the mayor to jump in. He says he's having internet issues and has asked me to hold on, so we're going to hope that he has he's able to clear that up and that we can shoot some questions at him, the questions that you sent over to us over the last few days. And I just realized by looking at the screen how disgusting and messy my closet is, and how you can probably see all the boxes that we've been shipping shirts and hoodies and cups and hats, and that's the shipping area right there. So by the way, I did want to welcome Jorge Barrera to our show. He's been sponsoring our website, and now he's also a sponsor of the show. And if you didn't know, I'm going to tell you right now that Jorge is donating, make sure I get the number right. He's donating 10% of all his commission sales to local Fort Myers Beach hurricane relief organizations until 2025. And so far, he's donated $25,000 to the Fort Myers Beach Women's Club. He was an active volunteer at 820 Buttonwood. He's a passionate realtor who's gained the trust of his clients by being transparent, knowledgeable, and available 7 days a week. He is a family man, of course, and one of Premier Plus Realty's top producers since 2020. It's Jorge Barrera, and you can call him at 239-791-9893. That's 239-791-9893. And right on cue, he joins us from Fort Myers Beach. There he is, everybody. Mayor Dan Allers. Dan, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry about that. I had a little internet issue.
No worries at all. Before we get into the questions, is there anything that you want to say about the Minnesota Vikings?
Oh, yeah. Just another year. Breaking heart since 1961. I saw the best shirt ever yesterday. It was the Vikings colors, and all it said across the front was disappointed since 1961. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, it was an entertaining game for Giant fans anyway. So
yeah.
Although we do have the Eagles next week, so that probably won't be any fun for us. But anyway, so go ahead.
No, I said, I think we would either, no matter who won, there's going to be a tough game next week.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you guys would have had the Niners, which they look great too.
Yeah.
So real quick, we got a couple of questions that came in at the last minute, and you might not have the answers, but I want to throw them at you to see if maybe you do. There was there was an issue with a contractor removing mangroves behind Town Hall, and he was released from whatever company he was working for. And one of the residents asked whether or not when all those mangroves are destroyed or removed by mistake, like they were, are they replaced by anybody? Do you know?
That I don't know. I do know that they were being removed by the those grapple things that you see. They were grabbing those when they were trying to grab stuff out of there. But Glenn, our state FDEM rep, put an end to it pretty quickly once I let him know what was happening. Once I found out.
Yeah, and I don't know. I couldn't, mostly because I'm dumb. But can you replace mangroves, or do they just have to grow back in?
I'm no mangrove expert, but I believe they grow back in over time.
Got it.
But I don't think it's something you can run to Home Depot and pick up a seed and replant it. But it's unfortunate, but at least it was handled, I think, properly.
So the other question that came in was about the parking passes. The town is waiting for parking passes for the residents to come in. Can you explain? They still work, even the old ones still work. Can you explain what's going on with the parking passes? Because for some reason there's some confusion out there with some folks.
Yeah, the parking passes, if you still have the ones that you had before the storm, they're still honored. Like everything else that was in the town hall building, it was lost. So I don't know that it was a high priority, 2 months ago to worry about those, but obviously people have started asking about them. So staff is working on getting them to replace so that they can issue them to the people that either lost them or want to buy some new ones.
And on the permitting fees, those go back into effect tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, technically today, but they were closed today. But yes.
Got it. So whatever the fee is, whatever permit you need, you can probably find the fee price on the town's website, and you'll have to start paying that tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a fee. There should be. I don't know exactly where it's on the website, but there's a fee schedule you can look at based on each permit.
Got it. All right. Can you explain why we're being charged over $60 a month for stormwater on lots where there is no building?
Well, there was some discussion about that, and I think if I remember correctly, at one of the town meetings, it was brought up for the council to weigh in on it, if I'm not mistaken. The stormwater fees are separate from the stormwater itself. So the fees were kept even though you were closing your account or you didn't have water anymore. It was voted that those would stay intact for now anyway.
Okay. And
we have a major, I mean, these storm drains are completely packed full of sand. They got to be cleaned out before the next rainy season, or we're going to have big problems
with puddles and backups and things like that.
We'll be back to where we were pre-Estero Boulevard.
Let's see. Do you know about anything as far as FEMA goes with debris removal down at Bay Beach?
As far as what?
They still have big giant piles of debris down there, according to a couple of folks, and that FEMA hasn't been down there, and they've been removing some of it themselves. So I was just wondering if you had any.
I think that they. Give me a second. I think I just got an email that they were down there today.
Okay.
I think they were down there today, and there was a truck picking it up. I got an email earlier today that said there was a truck down there picking it up, but I'll reach out tomorrow.
Okay.
When people are there to find out what's going on with Bay Beach as to why they're not getting. They must be talking about the side streets. I haven't been back in there for a while, so
yeah, I haven't either. But
talking about the right of way stuff.
Well, even on Sunday, the trucks are everywhere on Fort Myers Beach. I mean, there were black trucks everywhere picking stuff up. So
yeah, they're
still going.
They are all over.
All right, so we had the interim town manager on the show Saturday, and we asked him about the town hall because the town council just got a presentation about a new town hall, and it was a $32 million presentation. Do you think a $32 million town hall is needed?
No, and as I said in the meeting, this is it was just we need to get cost estimates in to be able to show FEMA what things are going to cost. So there's a whole process you have to go through. This is part of the exercise. Director Guthrie recommended this Ajax company who came in pro bono and did this initial cost analysis for us, just so we could get some numbers. Obviously, there's ways to cut things back, and do we need a 32,000 square foot town hall? No, but it's something to get some numbers. So essentially what they did is they gave our staff, they gave us a pre-sheet that they had done from other municipal buildings in the back, saying what did you have, what would be ideal for growth and things like that. Mm-hmm. And it was put together through all the department heads, then was sent back to Ajax that went off those numbers. And that's essentially how they came up with that size of the building. But again, by no means does it mean that we're planning on building a 32,000 square foot building, but it was just to kind of get us some numbers and let us know essentially what the costs are right now for construction. And they're, obviously going to continue to go up. So that's what that exercise was about. I was a little worried that once we started talking about it, people were going to automatically assume that, we're pushing for a 32,000 square foot town hall, but that is not the case. It's, we'll build what we need. I think we had 16 or 18,000 square feet in the building that we had before is the number that I've been told. So, and FEMA will build back what you had plus some mitigation for hardening. So we don't know exactly what that number is. We were insured for up to $16 million or $2 million for the building, just for the building itself. So who knows how much of that we'll actually get. I'm sure the town manager probably touched on it in your interview, but who knows how much of that we're going to get back from the League of Cities, who's our insurance carrier. So they're still doing their investigation. We're pushing them so that we can get progress moving on at least getting that building down.
Yeah, that was my next question. Town Hall is one of the buildings that looks like it hasn't been touched. What's the delay in getting it knocked down? It's clearly not usable.
Yeah, well, when I was up at the League of Cities and the League of Mayors thing a couple weeks back, Chris Holly and I were able to talk to the guy handling our insurance from the League of Cities, and he said they haven't concluded their investigation on it yet, so we technically can't touch it until they are done doing that. And they've told us by the end of the month they should be done, so then we can do what we need to do to start progress.
Dan, how important is it for contractors on Fort Myers Beach to have a license?
Well, there's a lot of contractors that are coming down, from other states that are licensed contractors in other states, and they're definitely able to do building, but not every state has the same building codes. Florida is obviously especially where we're at, is much different than other places that I've lived, especially Minnesota, for instance. You don't have to worry about hurricane and 150-mile-an-hour winds 6 months out of the year every year. So how you build a roof, how you build your house, hurricane straps, things like that are much more important down here, where a contractor from out of state won't know that. So it's very important that the state knows who's working on your place to make sure it's being built right. Unfortunately, people are fixing up houses quickly and then flipping them and selling them, and they're not being built to code. So it's very important that people are licensed Florida contractors so that they know what the building codes are for here.
And it's against the law to work without a license in the state of Florida.
It is, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about it now or you want to talk about it later.
No, I'm not going specifically with that. I'm going to wait till tomorrow and have everything in my hands before I bring it up to the folks out there. And by the way, if you have any questions for the mayor, feel free to type them in. He's always good about answering questions from the people. What will you be asking for in Tallahassee this week when you go up and see the legislature with Chris?
Well, we're making appointments with some of the legislatures up there just to, basically tell our story and let them know. Some people may not know exactly what Fort Myers Beach has been through, and not all of them obviously can come down. Adam Botana did bring down, I think it was 14 or 15 freshman legislatures, and spoke with Chief Martin and I just about a month and a half ago. So we were able to talk to them individually, but there's a lot of them that we haven't had a chance to talk to. So we want to get in front of the key players that we can to at least make our pitch as to what we're going to be asking for. So we're going to do some one-on-one meetings. We're not going to be speaking in general at the resiliency committee, but we just want to make sure we could talk to some people face to face.
I know that you're going to be asking for money because the town of Fort Myers Beach basically is low on money, and the state is flush with money and could probably help out with $7 million check or whatever it was, I think that Keith said on Saturday. And now you got to go lobby and ask for some relief here. He said it was a 50% chance that the legislature would help out. I wasn't. I was actually a little bit shocked by that it's so low.
Well, it's hard to put a number on it, really. I mean, I guess if you were saying anything in life is 50-50 shot, especially if you're asking someone for money. But, I don't think a lot of legislatures understand that not only did we lose every single structure that the town owned for the most part, except for the exception of Mound House, vehicles were damaged. We lost all of our ad valorem tax for the most part. I think it's 50% roughly, or 60%, somewhere in there, plus the 14% we were counting on. So, that's a huge hit, plus all your parking revenue. We cut the fees on insurance, or on the permits, which has cost us well over $1 million. So, things that we've done obviously have not helped our bottom dollar, but those are now going back into effect. But, Ian did everything else. And,
right.
And with the relief that's coming down from the state for ad valorem taxes, that's a huge chunk of money for a small town with a $21 million budget. So, we literally are starting over with nothing. No town hall. The Bay Oaks building is destroyed, not destroyed, but damaged and needs to be replaced. So Newton Park is gone. Bayside Park is heavily damaged. So our waters, on the north and south end were heavily damaged. So we're really starting with not a lot. So we're going in the right direction. Every day we're getting stuff done and making headway. So I'm excited about the progress, at least.
Let's take Nancy's question here. She says, is there someone to call to let them know there's debris to be picked up on a specific street, or do they just kind of wait until they show up?
Well, if you have a case number through that iandebriscleanup.com and you haven't had something picked up, you could call that number and ask them about it. But for the most part, they're sectioned off their zones throughout the island, and certain trucks go to certain zones. And, they're going to pick up the big piles first. If they don't have, if you got a small little tiny pile, it's probably not going to be high on their priority list because they get paid by the load. So if they have to stop and start, you've seen these things set up. So if they have to stop and start 25 times in a day just to fill a truck, they're gonna find the big piles first. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality. And we've had our street has had piles out here they came by and did one or two passes, and now it's been quite a while before they've come out and did another pass. But they'll be here. Just have to be patient.
I saw a lot of giant pieces of concrete Sunday when I was driving around. I mean, giant pieces of concrete that they were picking up. It's just, every time on Estero Boulevard, when it looks like it's clean, a couple of days later, somebody's building comes out and they put it on the sidewalk, or, somebody's house is out there because there's just so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just every day you go by, I think I've said it before, you don't see something that you saw the day before, and it wasn't because you're not paying attention. It's just because the house that was in front of it is gone. And now you see something next to it. So, they're starting to tear down through the debris, clean up. The houses are starting to come down now. We got that little snafu worked out between the state and the town of what was required for, speaking of concrete, tearing up the concrete to have the concrete removed. So that took a special form in order for the state to get reimbursed from FEMA to take that out when they come in and take your house down. So it seems like that's progressing along pretty good.
All right. I'm looking up for some questions here, and
I'm trying to read along as well, but it's kind of hard.
Lori wants to know, you're going to ask him about FEMA and the berms. Is the rumor true? I don't even know what that means, but maybe you do.
I don't know if it's two separate things. I would think. I don't know what they mean by FEMA, but the berms their emergency berm is what Chad Schutz is going after, and we're trying to get that to be able to put it up before the next season to be able to help alleviate any potential damage until we get the beach renourished. That was already in the plan. So that, I don't know if that's the question that they were specifically asking, or.
So explain to people that don't know, like me, maybe what a berm is.
So it's basically, you saw them in the houses on the beach that had the little sand dunes or berms, whatever you wanted to call them, that had the vegetation on them. They were there to help protect water from coming in. Well, obviously Ian came in and damaged almost every single one of them, if not all of them. Pretty sure it was all of them. So if you've been down the beach, which I know you have, you don't see any berms anymore. You don't see anything. It's essentially the water could come directly up to your doorstep again. There's nothing stopping it from coming over that berm. So that's the emergency berm that I think they're referring to.
All right, James, obviously the revenue needs to be generated. So why isn't the beachfront parking lot open? The bathhouse would need to be blocked off, but otherwise it doesn't seem like it would. I think he might be talking about, is that Lynn Hall Park he's talking about?
Lynn Hall Park. We have reached out to that's a county. That's not under the town's jurisdiction. So we can't open that parking lot. We've reached out to the county about it. They're looking at it. They're going through their process. So they have to go through with FEMA as well to make sure their I's are dotted and their T's are crossed so that they can get that park open. And as you said, make it safe. Those the bathhouses are damaged. So they're fully aware.
I'll tell you what, though, that point about all those parking spots, I mean, even if the bathrooms were blocked off somehow, he does have a point about there's so much parking in there. I mean, even if it was opened up for free until they can get their meters back in.
Again, we don't own that parking lot, so we don't have the decision. I know that Chris Holly has reached out to the town or the county manager and discussed it, and there's a plan. They're working on a plan to get it back open. It's just they, like us, have to make sure that they're dotting all their I's and crossing all their T's so they can get reimbursed through FEMA. I mean, they're much larger, obviously, budget than ours, but they still have the same worries that we do.
All right, Robert. I don't recall land being purchased. Oh, maybe he's talking about behind Town Hall. Does the town have any plans for the property that was purchased for the upland facility? That's probably the property behind Town Hall he means.
Yeah, they're looking at that as part of the potential future town hall for public works. There's been several different things discussed about that, but there's no ultimate plans yet for it. Still early in the stages, but it's going to be some sort of thing for town hall would be my guess at this point.
And this might seem like a minor thing with all the major things going on, but you were helpful in getting this flashing light approved at Lee County over by the fire station in Linnell Road. And it seems like 100 years ago that we were talking about that. Is that even on anyone's radar at this point?
No, I mean they discussed it and it was going to get done. It's just a matter of prioritizing now. I don't know that it's going to happen anytime soon, but I have not had any more conversations with Commissioner Sandelli about it since we found out that was going to be put in.
So do you know anything about this FPL final bill thing? What should residents do when they get a final bill from FPL, even though they do not want their power turned off?
Yeah, I today was kind of the first I started hearing about that. You know, we're just using our scenario. We're on the budget as well. We pay the budget billing, so I kind of had a little bit of a freak out when I saw the first bill because we're not staying in our house and we're still paying what the budget was. So you have a choice to either stay on it, or what I found out is if you go off it, you have to wait at least a year to get back on it. So you either continue to pay whatever your budget was, or you go off it. So we haven't done anything with it yet, but it sounds like people, from what I heard today, are getting final bill notices. So I've reached out to today and forwarded on an email that was sent to me about this specific issue to Charlotte, who's our rep from FPL, and she's going to look into it tomorrow and get back to me.
Okay. Do you know if town council is going to be meeting at Diamond Head too, like the LPA, or are they going to be meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. So your next meeting is until, is it next week or is it next 23rd? So that'll be at Diamond Head. Do you know if they got internet and the whole thing so it can be streamed?
They do. I was in there yesterday, the day before, and walked it with Neil Hopgood, who's the general manager there, and took a look at it, as well as Marcel walked me through it. So they've got tables set up. It's a nice room. It's a nice venue. If anybody's been in there before for some of the community foundation things and stuff, it's a nice room. Plenty big enough for what we need. The air conditioner works, Wi-Fi works. So got a projector if we need it. So it's close to, the chairs are still uncomfortable, but and we got folding tables for our dais, but it's better than the tent. That anybody's been in there knows that half the time you can't hear, or if you turn the air conditioner off, it gets too hot. So it was nice of them to offer up their room for us to be able to get in there and take care of our meetings. And they're not doing just for us; they're doing it for the chamber. They're doing it for anybody else essentially in the community that needs help with their meetings. So it's not just a specific thing for the town. And they've been doing it for a long time, even before the storm. They were nice enough to help people out that way.
Have you heard any? I did a little video on Saturday by Publix, and it looks like the building's in good shape, but it didn't look like they were ready to open it anyway when you just take a look inside. Have you heard anything from Publix?
Have not. No. We just live a couple streets down from there, so we go by it every day, a couple times a day, and they're making progress. I see they got all the insulation panels that were out are in, so they must be getting pretty close from what it looks like in the stages that we've seen driving by. But
yeah,
no,
and maybe getting
they have not reached out to give us a date. I'm hearing end of January, beginning of February is what I've been hearing.
Yeah, maybe getting the product in there is no big deal. They just one truck or two trucks and they fill it up. I'm sure they got a system, been around forever. Any word from CVS, 7-Eleven, any of those other places that are just leaving the residents hanging out there?
None yet. I think that I haven't had a chance to reach out to CVS yet, but I have tried to reach out to some of the people from 7-Eleven. They say they're rebuilding. I don't know when that's going to happen. I'm really surprised the one up on Pine Ridge doesn't seem like it's been touched. That's the closest gas station to the island, other than the one that was just over the bridge, and I don't know who owns that one. But like the mail, it's difficult and it's frustrating to have to go. At least now you can go to, I think the one in Walmart, Murphy Express, is open now.
Yeah.
So you can get gas there. So it's a little better than having to go all the way up to Winkler, but it's still an inconvenience. But it's getting better, and hopefully I've been told that they've heard the outcry, just like the post office has. So we'll see where it progresses.
Let's say Chris's question: are you seeing a lot of new building permits or mostly remodel permits? I'm sure you don't look at every single one of them, but maybe you hear.
I don't. I know that I think it's right around 4,000 is the number. Last I talked to Steve, of permits that have been processed, and it's been a good mixture of obviously demolition, remodel. I don't know how many specifically have been for new houses coming out of the ground, but I do notice I see there's one coming out of the ground right on Estero Boulevard, around the Madison Court area. That's not the street, but it's around that area. I saw they were driving the pilings in today, so a new one's coming out of the ground already.
And I know the answer to this one because there isn't one, but maybe you want to touch on that, where we're heading for the street lights.
Yeah, so after our presentation they had at our last meeting, obviously Town Manager Holly was not happy with that presentation. The whole point of that presentation was to just get the number out there. So when we do go start asking for money, we know kind of where we're at. It still wasn't a good scenario. So it was sent back to be reviewed, and they're supposed to be coming to our next meeting with some new updated numbers to hopefully help us out. I think anyone that watched that meeting saw the dissatisfaction from Chris Holly, and so he's pushing his buttons that he has to push, and I know Director Guthrie is helping on his end. So hopefully we can get FPL to play ball, and we can get these lights done. If they can get them done when they say they can get them done before next turtle season, I think that'll be beneficial for our island as well as them.
Well, turtle season starts in May, right? May, and they said something like June 1st, or so it'll be close,
yeah,
right?
So it'll be close, but they said they can replace the 131 current lights pretty quickly on Estero Boulevard, and they can add the ones pretty quickly that could go on existing poles. It's the 78 poles that they would have to put in for the remainder of those lights that would drag into turtle season and the side streets. And it sounds like they could probably do Old San Carlos as well with those pendant style amber lights. So still looking at all those solutions, trying to figure out the best plan of action and put it in action.
Okay, let's take Dave's question. Would the town ever reconsider the short-term rental weekly, monthly zones on the island?
We can't, unfortunately, because we tried. I don't know if anybody remembers or anybody that was paying attention remembers. I think it was last year, the year before, there was some conversation about the monthly streets, the monthly, what constitute a month. Well, within our code, it was essentially, the beginning of the month to the end of the month. So there were people that were saying, well, if it's a slow season and I want to rent for a week or 2 weeks in a month and it's in the middle of the month, I can't rent for the next month, so which made sense. So we, the attorney went to the Attorney General of the state and talked to him. And if we change, because we were grandfathered in, if we change one word in our code, we lose our home rule, which means the state takes over, which means it's not good for anyone when it comes to short-term rentals, because now you have to follow their rules, not the rules that we had in place. So the answer to that is no, it's not going to change.
Are you guys reconsidering the increase in the fees? Is that on an agenda coming up?
It'll be coming up. I think we talked about that at the M&P meeting last week. That's one of the ones, as well as the fees for the beach vendors. So yes, it's going to be discussed again, but it's got to be discussed, and you have to bring the ordinance back. And I believe it's going to be on the next one. We're talking about, if I remember John Herron correctly saying, that we can bring it back, adjust an ordinance if that's what we want to do, and then anything after we adjust that ordinance or change that ordinance, then you can do it by resolution. So that seems to be the path we have to go down before we can even discuss changing it.
Take Rhonda's question. And Rhonda, we just mailed your hoodies today, so thank you for the order. How about the trailers? Where are we on the trailers for the ones that are still homeless? Have you heard anything more about trailers coming over?
I've heard a couple people. I think Barbara Hill had a story I saw on the news. She had a trailer delivered to her house. I've heard stories of a couple other people. I haven't been to see every single one. We have our meeting tomorrow with FEMA and all the parties that are here helping us out. Our annual, our weekly meeting that we have with them every Tuesday at 8:30. So I'll get an update on that tomorrow as to how many are on the island, how many are still coming. But I don't have that number. I did see this weekend, but looked like a couple of the same ones that Barbara had on her story coming over the bridge back to back. So it looks like they're coming. It's just a matter of where they're going. I don't have that data yet.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do we know anything more about Times Square and planning? And is there a plan to have a planning committee or any group like that, or is it's still too early? Well,
we're looking at it. We've been, again, with the county, we've been talking to them because they have the property on either side of Times Square. So, we're going to want to work together. Plus, they have the pier. So it's in their interest and our interest to make sure that we work together to whatever we design there is beneficial for both, so that we're giving the best things we can to our residents and our visitors. But those discussions haven't started yet in person. They've been, talked about over the phone and stuff like that, but there's been no actual sit down meeting and say, where do we go from here yet? But there's supposed to be one coming up, but I'm going to probably have to miss it because I'll be in Tallahassee. So I'll have to give you an update once I know a little more.
The pier doesn't really seem, you would think, doesn't really seem to need a plan. You just need to, the county to kind of say, okay, we're going to rebuild it starting now or never or whenever? I mean, what's the delay on getting an answer from the county on when they're going to start the pier?
Well, I mean, there's a way. I mean, that's part of what could be, the Times Square design. That could be. There's a lot of
Mm.
different ideas out there. So to just rebuild the pier back when there's possibly a way that you could make it even better for the people of the county, I think that's kind of their mindset. At least that would be my mindset: is don't rush to just build something back if there's a way you can make it better. So I think that's probably their thinking. At least that would be my thinking if I was in their shoes. So can you build it back right away? Sure. I don't know that that's the highest thing on their priority list right now, but
Probably not. Yeah.
it has been talked about. They understand the importance of it for the county. I think it's the number one most visited place in Lee County, if I remember correctly. I think that's what I was told last year.
Probably even right now too.
Well, even though you can't go out on it, it sure is. There's a lot of people. It's kind of weird, and you go down there and you see people sitting in their beach chairs. And then I don't know if you've noticed that there's a track that those big heavy sand haulers that are taking the sifted sand back to the beach accesses to clean them up, to fill in all the holes that have been washed away. And the people are just sitting in their chair, and these big, giant, mammoth things that got 6-foot tires on them were driving right between the chairs.
I didn't see that. No, just
So
trying to
they
go
go
in and out with people.
Yeah, so they go right in front of where the pier side is, and they go between the pilings that they can drive on, so they're not in the water, to go back to Bowditch to get some more sand, and then they just got to pass like zigzags right through the people that sit there in their chairs, and then people don't. They don't care.
I was talking. I don't know who I was talking to yesterday about. People just want to, they just want to sit there and look out at the water. They don't want to look over their shoulder and see what the hell's going on back there. They just want to sit in the sand and look at the water and
Beautiful
just be happy.
ahead.
One of the things that is amazing to me is watching those big giant machines sift through that sand with all that shit in it and spit the big pieces out here and the little pieces of glass here, and then at the top it just shoots out perfect sand. It's like, who came up with that idea? It's just brilliant.
And then you see the piles that like you said, of the stuff that's left over after they sifted. If anybody goes by Newton Park and just stand on the sidewalk and watch what they do, it's pretty amazing. I used to love this show back in Minnesota. It's a national show, but I watched it all the time, called Modern Marvels. And there was a lot of things like that on there. Like,
oh yeah,
who's sitting around one day having breakfast? Like, hey, I got an idea. Let's do this.
Someday we're going to need to clean giant clumps of houses out of the sand on the beach. When you put your hands in that sand that after it's done, and it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, that's the whole point, is to get it back to the way it was before the storm, as close as possible. So it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing what they're doing.
So with all the stuff that's going on, have we heard from the state as far as the reconfiguration of the base of the bridge, or out to the flashing light? Is there any? I mean, they can still do their work, right? I mean, are they still on target to?
Well, they asked us. Yeah, they had asked us before the new town managers came in. They came in and asked us if we wanted to continue to move forward with that project, and we said absolutely, yes, we do. So they're still moving forward as though nothing happened. Their work's going to start on the San Carlos side of the bridge, San Carlos Island side. So they'll start over there, and then they'll work their way over to the base of the bridge. So their timeline is still the same as it was before the storm.
Cool. So give us an update on how you're feeling about permitting. Are people taking advantage of the extended hours?
I think they are. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you that I'm getting more positive emails. Still some people disgruntled, and still some things that need to be fixed. But I'm getting more positive emails every day of people's interactions with the permitting. The general vibe is that they seem to be getting the answers that they need, that Steve Poposky and his staff have been very pleasant when working with them. So I haven't, it's anyone that's come in, and I'm there every single day. So, and I think at the last council meeting, I encouraged my council members to spend a couple hours there and, watch the interaction. Just sit back and watch and listen and see the people that come in. And you'll see some people come in extremely, extremely angry, and then they leave with smiles on their faces, and they're shaking hands and so they're getting the answers that they want. Sometimes it's just a little minor glitch. They're processing a lot of permits, so many, many more than they did before the storm. So if people are willing to come in and ask for help, they're there to give it to them. And like I said, Steve and his staff are doing a great job under the circumstances. but it can get better. And Steve is really opening to listen to suggestions. I've had residents offer up suggestions and send it off to him, and those have been implemented. So, the staff understands that we don't all have the answer. And if you can work with people that do this every single day and take something out, we can't implement every single thing, but we'll take what we can to put it in what in there. And I can tell you, Keith Wilkins is determined to make sure that everybody is pleasant, works, it's stressful for everyone, including our resident, including our staff. So if long as we can all play together in the sandbox, for lack of a better term, we'll get through this and keep suggestions coming, and we'll do the best we can. If I get stuff, I forward it right on so the manager sees it and Steve sees it every single time. So any suggestions are always welcome. We'll do what we can, and we'll keep moving forward. But I do think it's progressing along, not as fast as I said last time as I'd like it to see it, but you can only do what you can do with the resources you got. And now that we're going to start seeing some revenue coming in from it, hopefully that can help us staff up a little more.
And Wendy, I did a video on Saturday over on the bridge over there, and it's a county piece of property. It's not a town piece of property, and sure looked like there were 10, 12 tents of folks. I don't know if they were homeless or not. I don't want to generalize, but they were living in tents under the bridge there. And that's county property, right, Dan? That under the bridge.
Yeah, that's not anything. The town has no jurisdiction over that, but the county's aware of it. Well, they are now. So they
Gotcha.
brought it to my attention. Now that we're not at Buttonwood every single day, we don't see underneath. We don't go under the bridge as much as we did before. So I don't see it quite as often as I did when we were there every single day.
Please ask the mayor if they are considering a 10 to 12 foot dune now that homes have to be elevated 14 feet.
I've not heard that. No.
Okay. Have you heard?
We're looking at doing the beach renourishment just like we did before. So if you were paying attention to what those elevations were along the island, that's still moving forward. It's just a matter of paying for it.
Now the beach renourishment project was like, I don't know, was it 25 or 32 million back when you guys were talking about it?
I think it was 22 million, and depending on what happened with the CWA would depend on what the county and the town's portion of that would be.
Has any of that changed drastically because of? I mean, there's sand everywhere now, and there's sand that people are taking, and sand that people are moving to different parts of the. I mean, is it going to be does it need to be completely redone now that it's the beach is not what it was when you first originally put this plan together?
Well, they had to adjust it. So, our planner that we had working on it, Mike, he's very smart, very knowledgeable guy. So he went back because we were already down the process. It made some things a little bit easier, but they had to go back and relook at the beach, see what sand was taken away, how much they need to add here to get back to the levels that we were at before. So he had to go rework some numbers, and there's more sand that has to come back in. But it sounds like there's enough sand from the same shoal that they were going to pull it from to be able to achieve that goal. So we're moving forward now. It's just a matter of getting it back on. And it's the same rules as before. If you don't want the sand, you don't have to take the sand. You don't, I think, Dave Nussbaum, has been very, very vocal about that. So, he's been talking with Chad. Nothing has changed. It's the same. None of the rules have changed. If you don't want the sand, you don't have to have the sand.
And speaking of sand, if you see a pile of sand, clean sand on Estero Boulevard or something, after that amazing machine cleans it out, you're not allowed to just go up and take the sand and put it behind your house, right? There's certain rules. The sand has a place, and it might not be behind your place. You just can't go take it.
Yeah, the sand that you see on the right of way is not for the taking. It doesn't mean you just get to go to take it, especially the non-sifted sand. And we had someone that took it upon themselves to go scoop up a bunch of sand and put it on their property that was unsifted. And I don't think that they're going to like the outcome of that or what comes from that.
Good grief.
You put unsifted sand back on. So people like yourself that have, and keep Lee County beautiful, the people that are out there busting their butt to clean up this beach, and then you got someone that takes it upon themselves to go just dump the sand back in their, on their property because they think they can. It's been unsifted. Now you're putting all this garbage back onto the beach. You're defeating the purpose. And something tells me FDEP might not look good, might not look friendly upon that.
Would you please ask Dan what the current floor story limits are for new buildings on the beach? Currently, there's another 10-story building going up on Bay Beach Lane. Is 10 stories the limit everywhere on the island? Are there nuances to the floor story limits based upon location?
Well, the new flood maps are out, so whatever your base flood elevation is going to be is what it is. The building I think they're talking about is the final thing that was permitted long ago. The final building within Bay Beach Lane there, Waterside. I think it is. I think it's called Waterside. Sorry, but they that's the building that you see being built down there. That was designed way back in the day, so that's the last one going in there. Depending on where you're at in the island, will depend on what your base flood elevation is. Then you can go up from there. I know they're going to talk about. There's some talk about obviously height. The importance is for people to build their home back safely, so we don't have to deal with this again. So do we need to look at are the height restrictions above your base flood elevation? Then you start whatever the height limit's going to be, or is it stay where it's at now? So I think these are discussions that are going to have to be had at the LPA level to make recommendations to council to finally adopt. But the short answer is depending on where you're at will depend on how high you can go off the ground.
Have you heard anything from the state about when the water might be safe for people to go in? And I don't mean bacteria wise. I mean, I don't know if there's debris in the water. If you could get in the water and step on somebody's car by accident. I mean, does anybody have any idea or how they even go about making sure it's safe?
Well, it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, you're going to constantly see things washed up on that beach. If you walk it every single day, you'll see something new every morning when tide goes out and comes back in. So, especially that little shards of glass. I mean, you've seen people posting it on Facebook, these handfuls of little tiny shards of glass. And, the beach isn't technically closed, but as I've said several times, if you're going out on the beach, you got to use a little common sense. I would certainly wear shoes if it were me. I wouldn't be going barefoot. I saw 2 people today walking down the sidewalks in bare feet, and I'm thinking, and then you're going to be the one that's asking, well, why wasn't the sidewalk cleaned up? Why did I cut my foot? And you got to use a little common sense.
Yeah, for sure. Wear shoes on the beach and don't go in the water yet, because you might not know what you step on.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be going barefoot. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you guys had a presentation from your lobbyist last week, Ron Book, I believe his name is. Would you mind translating what he said to our audience? Because I was totally flabbergasted by what he was saying. What did he say?
He said what a lobbyist says.
A whole lot of nothing.
He's a very good speaker. He likes to make the analogies. I mean, this is really the second time since I've been on council that he's made a presentation to council. He did it right back, I think, when we first got elected and seated. He came in and did a little presentation for us. And if I remember correctly, that was about the same. But, I can tell you that he does have the town's best interest. He's very good he's well respected up in Tallahassee from everyone I've talked to. He gets things done when he's there. So usually when his phone call comes in, people usually take the call. So he did kind of go off on a tangent a few times, but yeah.
Oh God, he's on the phone. Just give him whatever the hell he wants. I can't stay on the phone up for an hour. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sure he brings home the money, but it was hard to watch because
I can tell you he didn't say it, but he recently had a surgery and it's very painful for him to talk. So, and when he does talk, you could see him wincing. He was a little better this time than the first time we sat down. Chris and I had a conversation with him. He could barely talk then. In his throat, he could barely talk. So, I'll give him a pass for talking. I was surprised he talked as long as he did. But
yeah, no kidding. He could have caused himself a lot less pain if he didn't talk so long.
But his messaging is very good. He's given, I think, both Chris and I very good direction as to what we need to do to be effective up in Tallahassee. So if he needs to talk a little longer than people want to hear, then I'm okay with that as long as we're getting the advice we need to be successful.
As long as he's bringing home the money, I hear you. So what is your gut feeling on Tallahassee and getting some money back? I mean, if you don't get money, the town is pretty much screwed. I mean, the town needs to get some help from the state. There's no other way.
Well, I can tell you all the state officials that I've spoken to have said that there's money to be had. They know we need help. And it's not just us; it's Sanibel and everyone else. But specifically Sanibel and the town of Fort Myers Beach were hit the hardest. And when Sanibel didn't lose nearly the buildings that we did, but they did get hit just as hard as we did. It's just the devastation on our island was a little bit more than theirs. So we both need money. We both need a lot of help. We're both going in there asking for the sky because that's what we were told to do, and from the legislators. So we're going to go in there and you know me. If someone tells me that they're going to do something for us, I'm gonna hold them to it, unless they can give me a really good reason as to why they won't be doing what they said they would do. So I fully expect to get some help from them. To what degree, I do not know, but there's money to be had, and I'm going to do my best to go up and ask for it.
Lastly, Danny, are you happy with the pace of the progress on the beach?
Well, I'm never happy with any pace, quite honestly, but yeah, I overall, I believe we are. I think the debris removal is going probably better than anyone had expected. Being here since the first day and seeing what it was like the first day to what it is now, 10 days after the storm, seeing our businesses opening up every single day, seeing people still wanting to come down and spend money. I mean, you can't go to any restaurant that's open on the island that isn't packed full of people all day. So that's a positive thing. You're seeing some apparel places like Tuna Skin open up. Even the little coffee place that's down by the Red Coconut there, he's got his little stand open, and I haven't tried him yet, but he's got this meatball special I've heard is really good. So if you're down that way and you want to try some meatballs, I heard they're really good. So, I mean, little by little, day by day, we're opening back up, and more people are opening up as the days and weeks go on. So that's progress, and this is a marathon, not a sprint. So as long as everybody's working together, I think we'll get there faster than anyone expects.
I was mortified by the how high that pile of debris is at Bay Oaks, and it's huge, man. It's huge.
Well, so is the one down at Lover's Key, but
yeah,
you got to have places to put the stuff. I mean, I talked to the haulers today that are hauling the stuff out of the water. They have to take it directly off. They can't go to either one of those sites. It has to go directly to its final resting place. So, when these trucks have to load up and drive off the island and go 20 miles or however many miles they have to go, that takes time. It takes a lot of truck, and imagine what that pile would be like if they didn't pull stuff out of there every day and haul it away in the big semis. I can't imagine what it would look like. So
before I let you go, when will beach access points scheduled to be repaired?
When will what?
The beach accesses.
Well, we have to get the sand in there. So they went around and they looked at Chad and his staff, or Chad and some state people, and Jason and some of his staff have gone around. So if you're starting to see those big piles of sand in certain areas, that's the beach access. So they're working on they got to get the sand level before they can get to where the road. A lot of them, if you've seen them, I mean, you go out and do your bike thing. I'd go to a couple different ones and see what they really look like. Some of them are missing the road completely. So it's going to take some time. They all won't be open at once, but they're working as fast as they can to get them open. The beach is really clean now. You've been down there. You've seen it. It's looking better every day. So that was priority number one. Now we can shift some focus to getting these beach accesses reopened so people can spread out and not have to be parking on Crescent Park down there, which won't get me started on that. Do me a favor. If you're coming down to the beach, don't pull out into Crescent Beach. Don't pull out into the park. Someone's going to go off that seawall out there.
Are they pulling on the sand and parking there?
Yeah, wow. They're pulling right out where the volleyball nets were.
Oh, I didn't know that. What I did notice on Sunday when I was going down to the south end or coming back from the south end, there's a wide open space somewhere, kind of like in the middle of the island, that people are just now pulling up on the sidewalk. It's become a parking lot because you can walk right out onto the beach. There's nothing there anymore. There's 400 or 500 yards of nothing, and it's probably somebody's private property, but they're parking there so they go out onto the beach. So I mean, what do you do? I mean, you can't have people everywhere.
I told you last week, and I'll tell you again, that enforcement's going to come on stuff like that. It has to. You can't just let people continue to park wherever they want to park. A lot of people have spent a lot of money and a lot of long hours getting this beach as nice as it is, and homeowners are spending a lot of money to mitigate their property, and you're driving your car all over their property. And I certainly wouldn't want someone to do that if it was my property, and I would not do it to someone else's property. So again, use common sense. If there's places you could find to park. You don't have to drive out on the beach through someone's yard. It's rude, quite frankly.
Right. Okay. When do you go to Tallahassee? Tomorrow?
I'll be going up Wednesday morning. And
all right. Well, good.
Back for the topping off event
Friday
morning at 9. So a lot of driving over the next couple of days, but
What's that, like a 7-hour drive to Tallahassee or 5-hour drive?
8 hours, I think, is what I heard. So,
oh God,
yeah,
and
a lot of window time.
What Dan mentioned too is Friday at 9, Margaritaville's doing a little presser event, and they're going to have speakers and talk about the progress, and they call it a topping off celebration. Does that mean they're putting the roof on? Is that what that means?
Yeah, usually when construction properties get to the point where they're capping off the building, they have what's called a topping off event. This is going to be more of a, I could tell you, meeting with the Margaritaville officials and David, who you had on the show, the GM. They're very mindful of, this is a community event. This is not about just Margaritaville. This is about the community and the businesses that are opening, and we all work together. We're going to get back. So I think it'll be a pleasant event. I think it lasts from like 9 to 9:45. I'll be there. There'll be some other people from the county there as well. So, and I believe some of our local businesses will be there speaking as well. So it's going to be a community event, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, man. Well, thanks a lot. Good luck in Tallahassee. We'll see you on Friday at the event, and appreciate you coming on.
I got it. Yep. Thanks for being patient and being a little late.
No worries. Dan Allers, everybody, the mayor of Fort Myers Beach, episode number 7 of Mondays with the Mayor. Before we go, you might need a public adjuster because you're getting screwed around. Your insurance company wrote you a dinky little check. Public adjuster like Dorston Claims, Mark Dorston, is going to help you get a bigger check, more money from the people that are holding it back. Has your wind insurance company denied your claim? Even if you had a flood and the wind insurance company says they don't owe you, don't accept their answer without asking Dorston Claims. Give Mark a call today, 239-849-2949. Thank you, Linda. And I'll tell the mayor you said thank you. Mark Dorston, 239-849-2949. Liberty Roofing. Someday, when you get your house back, it's going to need a roof. You don't want a house without a roof because that would really suck the next time it rained. Liberty Roofing and Construction is your trusted roofing company, certified to provide the industry-leading manufacturer's total system 50-year warranty. Clean property guarantee. They are the industry leaders. Call Patrick McKenna, 401-439-9585, because you want a house with a roof. You don't want a house without a roof. 401-439-9585, Patrick McKenna. Thank you all for tuning in tonight, and we'll be back again Friday night from Mangoritas, Saturday morning from Wahoo Willie's. On Friday night, we're going to have the owner of the Beach Bar on because they're opening up, I think, on the 20th. So that'll be Friday night. Saturday, we don't know who's going to be on yet. And then Sunday, Sunday we're not doing anything. And then Monday we'll be back here. So we're fulfilling all your orders for your hoodies and your shirts and your hats and your cups. So thank you very much for all that. And we will see you soon. Say it, everybody. Bye-bye.